Welcome back to an unexpected art lesson. Today we continue with our interview with Marsha Kennedy.
That series is called Mapping the Land and Body. And that idea for that work came from a close friend of mine who got breast cancer. She's someone that was always into health food and taking care of herself and couldn't figure out why this happened. And she grew up in a small town. At the end of their backyard was a crop, a field. So there might have been pesticides sprayed there. I don't know, but that's where the piece started, is from a personal thing. And it turned into this piece where I'm relating our bodies as being intermingled and compared to in the same as the body of the earth and the bodies of other species here in the province, brought them all together and how they interrelate. And on the maps of the bodies, there's various things going on. Sometimes there's lists of pesticides used in Saskatchewan. There's a lot of information in these pieces. I don't want to get into too much detail because there's just too much. Even just talking about one piece, it's a lot of detail. Yeah. Those pieces are all life-size or maybe slightly larger than life-size people in them, because I think the pieces are they're over 6 feet high. I'm not too sure the exact dimensions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit over life size, depending on how tall you are, I guess.
Well, they had to be over 6 feet because one of the models was over 6 feet.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Where can people see them, though? Where are they on display?
There's 15 in that series, and they belong in public collections across Canada. There's some at the Vernon Art Gallery. There's some it's an art center where there's a gallery in Lethbridge. So there's some there. No, Medicine Hat. So there's some there. And then there's some in Moose Jaw, which is close to Regina.
I visited Regina early last year.
Oh, do you know people here?
Yeah, my co-host Watson is located in the Regina area, so I was visiting him, got to explore a little bit, got to see Moose Jaw. Absolutely love Regina.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah. The winters here are terrible, though. I mean, for an artist, it's great. You can kind of hunker in, and that's a wonderful period of time in the winter to really get a lot of art done.
But it's just too cold. It's just way too cold. Although whenever it gets to be summertime, it's like Watson's like, it's like 90 degrees. And I'm like, oh really? It's 90? Yeah. It's 100 here.
Wow. Yeah. Well, 90 to me
Fahrenheit
is too hot, but we can get quite hot here, but not like Texas.
Yeah. Texas gets quite toasty. Next time I'm in the area, I will definitely have to make sure to stop and see some of your pieces, because we talk a lot in the show about sometimes you just have to sit and look at it.
Yeah.
Just sit and look and take in all the little individual pieces and all the details in the story that's being told. Because it sounds like you were telling multiple very deep, profound stories that have a little bit of room for people to figure out, what does this mean for me?
Yeah. That series is about land use. It's about colonialism. Some of the bodies have written on them the writings of journals of the first explorers here as well. That's an older series, so it's kind of hard for my mind to, click into all of them. But yeah, it covers a lot of things. But it boils down to bringing the land, the body, and other species all together and putting them on an equal plane and having us consider our relationship to the land, our body, and other bodies.
The nature of that relationship is kind of something we decide. Is it going to be symbiotic, or is it going to be something a little bit more parasitic?
Well, the unfortunate part is, we do make all those decisions, most of them, but in the end, we don't have the control or the ability to make the decision whether this is going to be good for us or not. We've made decisions that are really against our own good, as everyone knows.
We've made choices again and again, and we need to start thinking about those before the consequences come, because, oh, they're coming.
Yeah.
Some of them are already here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, my art practice has helped me make deeper connections to the world around me, to help me understand more the world around me. Again, because we talked earlier about being a creative person and being an artist gives you the opportunity to dig deeper and deeper. And I still work from a gut level, but as you're learning so much, it becomes, I just always describe it as, there's a great big pot, like a witch's cauldron, and I keep throwing these things into it. And the things that surface are the things that really resonate with me. And I work from that. To keep the work more intimately personal to me, I mean, there are what I'd say didactic qualities about my work, but I don't like intellectualism to dominate a work or a theory or anything like that. To me, work has to resonate somehow from within. And sometimes when you're confronted with work like that, you don't have words for it, but there is feel and connect to, and I think that's important.
I agree. That is important. I mean, there's space for everything. You can still draw inspiration for a piece created from that place of like intellectualism, more focus on the technical. But there's also the things where it's the emotions where you can't put into words what you're trying to say, but your art says it, and what everyone else hears hits them on a level that they probably didn't realize they needed something to hit them.
Yeah, I mean, I think really that's where change really happens, is when it's deeply felt. If a work is too didactic, people don't like that. They feel like they're being knocked over the head with a mallet. This is right, this is wrong. But there's all kinds of art. I just work kind of on this that's in between all of that.
You work from your heart. You work from what matters to you.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful, and also the level of vulnerability that you put into your work. I imagine it can be a little scary putting it out there, but also cathartic.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes I start a series and I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, but I'm looking for something. And there's various levels of finding things or not finding things in the process.
So did you find what you were looking for in your upcoming series?
Well, my upcoming series was challenging. 3 years ago last spring, my son took his own life, and it was here at home. I was here through it all. It was a nightmare. It was very violent and visceral, and
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I would give you a hug if you were not so far away.
Yeah. So I couldn't, of course, make art for a while. I was
understandable,
traumatized by the whole thing, and after a while, I was able to get back into my studio, and I wanted to make work that somehow evolved from thoughts and from that whole experience. It's not about the suicide. It's about the loss. I'm exploring for myself too, thoughts and feelings about all of that. And so if someone looks at the work, they're not going to say, oh, I know what this is about, because they're not going to know. For example, there's two pieces that echo from scenes in Alice in Wonderland. One of the paintings, there's a white rabbit and a hare and a mouse, echoing the dormouse, and a teapot set in China Rabbits and mouse threw themselves into the water, and the china were thrown into the water, floating down towards the bottom. And that piece is called Mad. My son actually, it might have been brought on because he was dealing with a thyroid issue.
Ooh.
That was unattended to. He went to a walk-in clinic. It was attended to incorrectly. And it was through some of the things that when they were trying to deal with that he first became, he had hyperthyroidism. He became really, really low, super depressed. And then when he was taken off that medication, it took a while, but then his thyroid went way, way up again. He couldn't sleep. There's a lot of physical symptoms, but he became psychotic, basically. And I had taken him, and after 8 hours of waiting, and they weren't going to keep him there anyways, my son ran from the hospital and he killed himself the next day. So this painting with that imagery, the title of it is Mad. It's mad because of the madness that my son experienced. I don't even know if he really understood what he was doing when this happened. He was so detached from reality. And the other use of the word mad is that I was so angry that there was nobody to help me, nobody. And so that piece was made out of that situation. In that series, they all kind of relate. There's a sense of wonder and searching about death. I don't have any specific religion. I'm not a follower in that sense. I am open, but I have no hardcore set beliefs. I envy those who do at times like this. But in any case, for example, the whole series is called Pondering, and there's ponds of water in all of them. And the last two paintings, for example, one is called Breaking the Surface. It's a pond in the forest, there's no one around, but someone has thrown something into the center of the pond and broke the surface, so the ripples are moving out from there. And behind the trees, there's an area where the sun has broken into the forest, and it's really bright in the background. So you can see the symbolism as I explain that. And another one is called Spring Water, and there is a slope and lots of trees, the slope going downward, and there's a spring coming down and falling into a pond. And on some rocks in the pond, I've placed a bouquet of flowers, one being a wild. Some of the bouquet are forget-me-nots, and others are Canadian violets. And then there's a little bow set on. So in a sense, that is in remembrance of my son and honoring him. So it goes on and on. There's a lot of paintings in the series, so I won't go through it all.
To me, this sounds like you're working through your grief and trying to make sense of like what happened and maybe a bit of why did things like this happen, what am I supposed to do, and then finding your way forward, which is a deeply personal experience that everyone goes through at some point. The circumstances might be different, but that's still something we can connect over.
Yes.
This loss happens to everyone. It can be easy to become numb to it, but sometimes it hits deeper. But knowing that someone else has gone through something like that and that you're not alone is huge. And seeing the visual representation of someone processing that, your work may very well help others deal with their grief. Which is amazing and something that I very, very much admire.
Art is such a personal thing, and everyone brings their own stuff to it, and they get what they need to get out of it.
Yeah. Also, that was not me trying to tell you what the purpose of your art was. That's just like this. That's my interpretation.
I know. Yeah. No. I know.
I just wanted to clarify that for you and the listeners. It's like that's the vibe I'm getting.
I mean, I make the art for myself, and when people view art, they bring their own experiences into viewing the work, and the work changes depending on who's looking at it. People have seen things that I haven't seen that are actually really quite insightful for myself.
When you were describing the madness, it's what I got was you and he were both drowning in a different kind, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There was just too much going on, and then you were both processing things that were just too much.
Yeah. The tea set and stuff like that all look of home and domesticity.
And also with Alice in Wonderland, it's like a kid's daydream almost.
Yes.
It's like childhood, youth, naivete. Alice found herself in a world full of rules she didn't understand and had to figure out those rules before going back to the real world, which just kind of could be a metaphor for growing up.
Yes. Or going through trauma, life-changing experience.
Exactly. And the other thing I thought of was like with Peter Pan.
Yes.
I have a friend who does a podcast called Of Slippers and Spindles. It's where she and her co-hosts discuss fairy tale retellings. So they did for like Alice in Wonderland and Peter Pan, and I'm currently reading a book called Windy, Darling.
Oh, okay.
It's basically like Wendy's all grown up. Peter takes her daughter Jane. She has to go back to find her, but also like this book is deeply emotional, and it is a bit of a heavy read, but it's also cathartic. It's a beautiful book.
Have you ever seen the animated film? The animation is used with real objects, not drawn or animated.
Like a claymation animation?
Yeah, only they're very high quality objects. And it's called Alice, and I can't remember the name of the filmmaker right now, but he's from one of the Eastern European countries. Incredible. It's the other painting I did relating to, again, Alice in Wonderland again, was I'd been painting just off the side for small little things for the gallery, mice, because I love mice and they're so cute. So I was doing funny little mice paintings. But I also put a mouse in this series where Alice had shrunk, and so she's as big as a mouse, and it's in the pool of tears. So the image is this dark blue swirling water, and Alice is reaching out to the mouse, who's her size, and there's tears coming down her. One is in the series as well. Drowning, a fear of drowning in one's own tears. Yeah.
Which, when you were grieving, is potential possibility. Going back to the Alice film, did it come out in 1988? And did it have a very unsettling rabbit?
Yep. I bet that's it.
Yep, I found it. It's directed by Jan Svankmajer, I think. I could be very much mispronouncing that name, and I apologize if I am, but instead of animation, they have like puppets of the different creatures, and oh boy, some of them are kind of nightmare fuel, but it's also interesting to see how they recreated the bizarre creatures in Alice in Wonderland, and I'm also wondering how much did they also borrow from Through the Looking Glass, because some people forget there's two different books.
That's right.
And it's not the same place.
He did some other animated films, but I thought the Alice one was top-notch. I used to have a copy of that video, but I don't know where it is now, and I don't have anything to play it on anyways.
Yeah. I just looked up animated Alice in Wonderland, and you had mentioned something about it was done by someone from Europe, so I put European.
But it's not called Alice in Wonderland. It's just called Alice.
Yes.
Is that one called just Alice?
Yep.
Must be it then. Yeah.
Very interesting cover art.
Mm-hmm. Very creative, very rich. It does have that dark quality, but it's visually very rich.
So now that we have gone down a rabbit hole about a girl falling down a rabbit hole, did you find working on this series helped?
It gave me focus, purpose, direction. All of that starts to rebuild a kind of routine, daily normality. I'm sure, absolutely sure, it helped me heal. Because I am much better now. Much, much better.
I'm very glad to hear that. My favorite sort of analogy for grief that I've heard is it's like grief is like a ball that's inside of a box, and the pain you feel is whenever the ball touches like the side of the box, and it starts out with the ball really big, but over time it like slowly starts to shrink down, and sometimes it might get a little bigger. There's something about the 4-year mark where it hits you like a freight train and out of nowhere, which I just think is rude of your emotions to do that. But oh boy, does it hit you 4 years later. It does shrink, and it never fully goes away. But
no, it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, it throws the doors open on everything. Everything. I mean, for me, I've had to be open and just trying to find some kind of peace to keep going. And everyone who's here on this planet is going to die. When someone is young, and when that someone is your own child, I think that's one of the worst things that can happen.
I can't even begin to imagine what that would be like. And thank you for being comfortable to share this with me.
Yeah.
And I'm also glad you are in a place where you can share it.
Well, artists are often people, not always, there's all kinds of artists, but in my experience as being a teacher and an artist, a lot of people go into art because they're hypersensitive people in one way or another. A lot of artists have various learning disabilities or
neurodivergent, pretty much always.
Yes. And also people that have diverse sexualities and gender find themselves in the arts, because historically that's been the place where people who don't seem to fit in, they fit in there. And also there are gifts, community for us to learn and grow because of the openness that artists can bring to those issues, and the sharing of thoughts and feelings about those issues through art is really important. So I used to say to my students, I said, if there isn't anything wrong with you, there's something wrong with you. Almost every student there would have something. And it was a place where, you didn't have to feel shame or anything because of just, that's the way it was.
Well, but if congratulations, welcome to my art class. We will be getting to the root of whatever your problem is, because guaranteed you have one, but it's okay. We all do. You are accepted. You belong here. Stop trying to run out the door. You need to work through your problems.
Right.
Here's a sketchbook. Get to work.
Right. That's a good one. That's a good one. Going back to my relationship to my subjects, they fostered, or I call it surrogate mom, being a surrogate mom to a lot of wildlife. And it started in Toronto when the Toronto Humane Society started a program that was needed for wildlife in the city that needed help. I worked with raccoons and squirrels. That's, you'd have to get up all hours of the day and night to feed them and take care of them. And that was a really nice experience. I have always been very close to animals, and I had rescued crows that I lived with for 9 years, or more than 9 years. The reason why they couldn't be released is because one of them had to have its wing amputated because it was so damaged, and the other one, it was an old break and it couldn't fly. I used to do a lot more wildlife rescue and taking care of animals until finally a couple of wildlife rehabilitation programs are set up in Saskatoon and one here in Regina. So I'm kind of relieved that there's professionals here to do it now. I thought about going into that. I had enough on my plate. I didn't. That's too much. Yeah.
Just occasionally, like the occasional taking a raccoon or a squirrel or a bird. I know there's birds commonly show up in your art, or at least in the pieces that I've looked at.
Birds have been a focal point in my art quite a bit, both from, talking about it from an environmental person and symbolically they've shown up. Yeah, I've probably done birds more than anything else in my work.
Stay tuned next week to hear the rest of my interview with Marsha Kennedy. If you like what we're doing, you can follow us on social media and join the conversation over at An Unexpected Art Lesson on Threads, Blue Sky, and Substack. And you can also support us over on Patreon. Get early access to episodes and other fun things at patreon.com/anunexpectedartlesson.